Welcome to Tradition Kitchens. We are so excited to have Rash here, Julia, and happy to welcome you all. Wanted to invite you, we're going to get started in a moment or two, to tell us in the chat where you are joining us from. So we have some wonderful familiar attendees. Midori is here from Japan. Always lovely to see you. And we have Barinder here. I'm blanking on your home country. I want to say Malaysia, yes? Okay.
Borneo.
Borneo, okay. Rash, our teacher, is based in Australia, so we're already very international. Oh my goodness, look at everyone. We've got Mike from Arlington, Eva from West Virginia, Greg from Hawaii. Greg, we might request a view out your window if you can share. Margaret's here from Boston, and Jennifer from Virginia. Parul, who was chatting earlier, is also in Virginia, and Meg from Louisiana. I think we have time for maybe like one or two kitchen cams. So anybody really excited to say hello? We'd love to welcome you all. We're all about building community with Tradition Kitchens, and so excited to have you all here, wherever you're dialing in from. Barinder, as our chef's teacher, would you like to say hello to everybody and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. It's so lovely to see all of y'all. I really look forward to this class, All right.
Tell us your connection to the chef.
Oh, she's my lovely, lovely daughter. Oh,
We love
and
it.
I'm so proud of her. So, my gosh, she got really flair for cooking. Yeah, she loves it. She enjoys doing it. Yes.
Yeah. And did she learn to cook from you?
I suppose, yeah, but I am not as good as she is. She's getting very good at it. I have to take lessons from her now.
You learn together. That's so beautiful. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you always for being here. It's so good to see you. One of the wonderful things about Tradition Kitchens is that we're just able to build a lovely community of people who are around the world who've never met, but we enjoy learning about cooking and sometimes cooking together. So I want to take a moment to invite everyone to take part in our annual Tradition Kitchens tradition, which is taking our selfie, our Zelfie. So if you could hit on the bottom left of your device, make sure your video is on so that we can capture you. Meg, great to see you. I'll call out a few folks, Mary, Eva, Arlene, Romy. Be great to have a bunch of you here. Yes, Jennifer, thanks for turning on your video. We know everybody's in different places and spaces, and maybe, we haven't brushed our hair as much as we would have liked, but you all look great. This is my faux kitchen. I have about 20 of them. I've been rotating throughout COVID. So, feel free to blur your background. And looks like we have a few folks. I'm on gallery view and I see a couple of folks on video. So thanks for those who are able to join, and Rash back right in time. So I'll take a quick picture and count us down. If you can all smile at the screen. Awesome. We've got some more people turning on their video. So 3, 2, 1. Great. I'm going to hope no one closed their eyes. So with that, I want to turn it over to our amazing teacher. We hope you all will stay on video. It really makes it feel like a community when we are gathered here together, but we understand you might have to step away. I'm going to pop some great links in the chat in a moment. Please use the chat as a way to connect and ask questions. If we need to unmute or raise your hand, please do so. And you can also use the emojis to show your enthusiasm and interest in all that Rash is teaching us. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to her to walk us through this incredible dish. We always like to know who's cooking along. So if you are cooking along with us tonight, would you give us a heart or your favorite emoji? We would love to know. It seems like we might have some people taking notes for future time. Nobody's cooking along. Oh my gosh. Well, we hope you're going to be making it at another time and taking really, really good notes. So let me share with you all of the wonderful ways you can keep in touch with Rash and the great work she's doing. These are her different social media channels. So you can follow along on all of those. And she teaches classes with many different organizations. So we're so happy that she teaches with us. If you aren't familiar with our model, we're volunteer cooking classes taught by people from the community as if we're hanging out in each other's kitchen, which is also really fun for us. And I've lost track of how many classes we've done, but we're nearly at 100, which is really, really wonderful. And if any of you would like to teach, we welcome that. We've had classes from all different cuisines and cultures, which has been really, really nice. Parul, I might spotlight you because you kicked off the Indian trend, Indian cooking class trend. Do you want to let everyone know what class they could watch that you and your mom taught?
Yeah, we did samosas back a little over a year ago now, right? And aloo bonda for the gluten-free options. I noticed Rush is also trying to do gluten-free options, so I'm glad we could kick off both versions of that, trying to be more inclusive and start the Indian cooking.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. I'm going to pop the video into the chat for everyone. I just put a link to our cooking library where this recording will be posted and all other past recordings are, as well as the recipes. So you can go anytime and take a look and watch and relearn and virtually cook along with us, which is really, really fun. So I'm looking up Parul and her mom's class. Parul, it was like over a year and a half ago. Crazy.
Yeah. Oh, does that mean I'm about to get recruited again?
No, it might be your time. We always love repeat chefs, which is why it's so nice to have Rash teaching with us again. Rash, I am excited and I think we're ready. I asked and nobody is cooking along. You have a bunch of note takers for future sessions.
That's okay. I've gotten into the habit of actually encouraging people to send through their photos because I know it can be a bit stressful when I'm cooking that you're trying to watch me and cook at the same time. So absolutely, even to Julia as well, if you can send any photos that you guys have once you get a chance to actually make the dish. Today can be all about me making it, but don't forget to send those through. All right. Were you ready for me to get started, Julia?
We are ready. I have
Awesome.
linked to all the ingredients so people can follow along, shared all your socials, and excited to learn.
Excellent. All right. Well, hopefully you guys can hear me okay. We're going to get started today with upma. So has anyone tried this, eaten it, made it? Thanks, Parul. Awesome. Mom, you're the original. This is a variant of your version. So cool. Was there anyone else?
Let us know in the chat or feel free to unmute or give us your favorite emoji. But I have a feeling this is a new dish for some folks, which is exciting. That's what we're all about, discovering. Oh, we've got Arlene is saying in the chat. She's done it before.
Amazing. Arlene, well done. I'd be keen to hear any thoughts you have around the version you've had or made and the one we're doing today, just to kind of get some ideas floating around with everyone else as well. Meg, black salt is not essential, but it's recommended. So black salt is basically like Himalayan pink salt that's actually been baked at a really high heat with other things added on from a sort of a flavor perspective, spices and some fruit as well that has certain properties that help with digestion. So that's one of the reasons why it's included. If you don't have it, Himalayan pink salt's great, or just regular salt. Don't go out to buy it just because of that one particular dish. I would say regular salt will be fine. Hopefully that answers the question, Meg. But yes, so Arlene's made it before, very excited. I'll get started by going through some of the ingredients. To start with, the main one is upma, which is semolina. So I might quickly switch cameras over here just to show you guys options around the different types of grain you can use. So let me just get that started, Julia, while I get all the savvy tech going on my side of the fence.
Yeah,
I'll do a share screen.
Be able to share screen. Hopefully it works.
Yeah, if you can make me co-host as well, just in case. Sometimes it works, sometimes it gets funny sometimes for me. Well, hopefully you can see my hands. What I wanted to quickly show you guys were the different types of grains. So Let me just move that over a little. There we go. So this is semolina, which is also known as cream of wheat. It is from a wheat, so it's gluten. I got gluten in it, so that's why I've opted for a non sort of gluten-free option as well. So any questions in semolina? People know what it is. Pretty straightforward. Yep. Jump in if you do have a question. Go ahead and type that. So the other two sitting in the back are actually corn-based. I'm going to flip it around for a second. Grits, for those in America, you guys would have heard of it before. It's basically, you know, just corn ground down. There are different coarse levels. This one's relatively fine. It's not entirely fine because I'll show you polenta in a second, and that's really fine. But this one's fine. This one's good to use as well. So it's white in color, this one, and it's, you know, very, very popular with African American cooking. And so I just found it when I've made it with either semolina or grits, it ends up like the texture is nearly identical. I couldn't tell the difference. So that's really cool for those who want a gluten-free option. Polenta, which is over here, is also from corn. And as you can see, this one's yellow in color. So it's more of an Italian sort of a cornmeal. It's still cornmeal. It's just, you can make polenta chips with it, or polenta mash. I'm sure it's called something else in different parts of the world. But yes, these are your options. You can use any of them, recognizing that if you use polenta, there's going to be that color in the dish. But if you use regular semolina, it's usually 1 cup to 3 cups of water, 1 cup of wheat to 3 cups of water. For grits, it'll be 4 cups. And then for polenta, it'll be 5 cups. And in that order, so you guys can remember it. So regular semolina, just 3 cups, grits at 4 cups, and polenta 5 cups. Now, that's sort of the regular range. I check the back of the packet of whatever you're using to make sure you're not putting too much or too little water. I would start with less water, because the idea here is not to make a runny soup, it's to make more of a porridge kind of a consistency that ends up becoming quite firm after it cools. As you know, for those of you who eat grits. So we don't want too much water, but we want enough water that it gets cooked, because we don't want to eat it raw. And I'll show you how I do that today with just adding water progressively throughout the cooking process rather than all at once. So those are the grains. I just wanted to really quickly show you guys that. And I'll show you as well the next thing. If there were any questions, feel free to chime in or just put them in the chat while I go through the next bit. What I've done, and you can do this with any of the grains, this is basically semolina. Hopefully that's not too bright, but yes, that's just regular raw semolina. Whereas, and hopefully you can see the color difference here. I'm just gonna pop it next to each other. This guy has been roasted. So if you can see, there's kind of a slightly golden color to it relative to the white. And that really is to kind of, honestly, just create some depth and flavor. All I've done is put it in a nonstick pan over a very low heat for about 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how strong your heat is. And then it is more about basically making sure that you're not burning it. So just the same way you would roast oats or any other kind of grain, that's what we're trying to do here. And that just really makes it a lot more flavorful. And you'll know it's ready when you can start to smell the sweetness coming through from the flour or the grits. And yes, you can do this with grits too. In fact, I started doing it with grits even when I make regular grits with cheese and cheddar cheese and stuff like that, and it actually tastes a lot better. So that's what I'll be cooking with today. So I'm going to do the traditional version, but I can tell you, based on the water amounts I gave you before, that's probably the only difference in the dish. So you don't absolutely have to make it like all the other ingredients hold true. Like you just need to change the water levels based on the grains you use. And so with that, we can get started with the cooking side of things. Were there any questions before I did that?
No, I think we have
we're good to go.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to go. We have a great view of your pan, which is awesome.
Yes. Great. So we're going to get started with some oil. I'll get the fire going in a second, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to add, is it okay with everyone if I just went through the ingredients as I put them in the pan, or did folks want to ask any specific questions? Because I could certainly do that, but you're going to see everything as it goes. And so I figured I'd do it that way for a change. If that's all right with everyone.
Yeah, and I'm just making sure the view that everyone can see the cooking spot and all Rash's cute little small dishes.
Oh, yes.
if you can.
No, that's
Okay.
great.
Yeah, good.
I might just quickly do this actually, just one bit before I get stuff going into the pan. I'm just going to swap it all the way around to there. So these guys are urad dal and chana dal. So chana dal is split chickpeas, and urad dal is basically black gram. That black gram. So it's split black dal. So these guys are basically the insides of other lentils or peas, chickpeas. And what we're going to do here is I'm just going to soak it in water while I get everything going. It doesn't need to soak overnight or anything like that. We're talking probably 10 minutes before I actually start to fry it. So I'm just going to do that. I've just added water to that one, and I will to the other one as well, just so that it cooks quicker once it hits the pan. So I just wanted to quickly show you guys that. So it's sitting over there. I'll sieve it. So I'm going to discard the water before it goes in the pan, but I just need for it to soak while I get started with the frying. So I'm going to fry the nuts first, and then I'm going to take them out. I'm going to heat up some oil to do that. I'm using peanut oil today. You can use any vegetable oil. Should be fine. I wouldn't use things like olive oil, anything that's got a fragrance that's not going to help with the dish, given it's a traditional Indian dish, I would not use, just to play safe. Got nothing against sesame oil, for example, which is wonderful oil, but it wouldn't go with this particular dish. So with that, I'm just going to get the oil to come up and heat. I'm going to fry the cashew nuts first because the cashew nuts don't need as much heat. In fact, they'll burn if the oil's too hot. So just going to do those first, take them out, and then do the peanuts and take them out, and then start to use that as a base for getting the rest of the dish going. So yes, that's what we'll do. And I'll start to talk through the rest of the ingredients as I put them in. All right, starting to heat up, but probably needs another minute. And then, yeah, no, actually, that's actually good to go. So I'm going to go in with the cashew nuts first. And I probably got about a little bit more than 8 pieces. I always go a little bit more generous than the amount of ingredients I've listed, because I really like cashew nuts and peanuts, and I really like peas. I might throw more peas in today as well, and so on and so forth. So there you go, just in case you guys are curious on the quantities. But I put the recommended amounts for everyone to follow in the recipe that you shared out, Julia. So hopefully that's all cool. So as you can see, it's going to start sizzling up, and I don't want it to burn, but I do want it to turn golden. So I'm just going to let that do its thing.
Cashews are so delicious. They're like, just had to
They're
share.
such.
If
No,
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say cashews are great. They're in fact such a great way to make vegan cream, in terms of not adding any dairy to your food, but still giving that creamy deliciousness. So these guys are done already, but I think someone else was going to say something, and I might have interrupted them. Apologies for that.
Problem. I was going to ask if people are cashew fans. You know, favorite emoji.
I know my mom is. My mom's an absolute cashew fan.
Yeah, I know some people
We are. We definitely are too. So we put a lot of cashews in there.
Yeah,
so good.
they're great.
And
All right.
I want to give a shout out to Christopher here, another loyal attendee. Great to have you.
So as you can see, I'm tilting the pan just so that all the oil sets in so that it can be submerged in the nuts rather than trying to fry it slowly. But yes, you can do it any which way you like. I think this allows the peanuts to, or the nuts rather, to cook quicker. I'm going to drop the heat now because those peanuts are almost done. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have to put mustard seeds in next, and they're going to pop their way out like popcorn if I don't actually reduce the heat now. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we're going to let that oil come down a little bit in temperature, and then we get started with the main event. So I'll quickly put all those ingredients in front of you and talk through them real quick while we let the oil These peanuts just don't want to agree with me, do they? There we go. So as we're just going to let that oil cool down a little bit. So we've got our nuts, as you can see, ready to go. I'm going to set them aside. I'll add them in at the end. What we're going to do now is, I've still got these guys soaking. I'll quickly switch cameras again to, there we go. So we've got these guys soaking. That's all fabulous. We'll leave them for a bit. What I'm going to start with today is going to be the spices. So here we go. We've got quite a bunch of different spices. Some of these are optional, but hopefully you can see them. I'm just going to drop that camera lens a little bit. There we go. So we've got dried chilies. Now, for those of you who kind of struggle with spice, skip them, but they certainly add a nice little kick. Or you can also, because there's also fresh green chilies that you can use in this recipe. You can certainly skip both, but if you want one or the other, you can probably just omit the other. So we're doing 2 of those today. Now, from my left to right, we'll start with this. This is an optional spice. So it's ajwain or carom seeds. Now, this is not something that's traditionally put into upma. I love it because it really aids with digestion, and between, just some of the things going in, like the lentils, for example, and other things, it's just going to help you kind of not struggle with anything in that regard. So I like throwing that in. You don't have to. You can also always increase the amount of ginger that goes in, because that aids with digestion as well. Carom seeds do have a sort of a, does anyone know what carom seeds are? Is that a new thing for folks? I'm pretty sure it's quite common throughout most of the world. Are people nodding?
I don't know it. Carom? Like cardamom?
Carom.
No.
No, cardamom's different. So these are carom seeds. So they almost look like cumin seeds, but they're completely different. They've kind of got an analgesic sort of a after effect. Yeah, after effects. So like when you eat carom seeds, it actually makes the inside of your mouth a little bit numb. And that's kind of cool, I guess. And also maybe unnerving if you don't know that when you eat it for the first time. But the whole point of it is it's to help with digestion. So we typically, when I say we, I'm looking at Mom, and we typically throw it into a lot of dishes that we do with anything that tends to cause bloating and stuff like that. So you can always do ginger, but ajwain has actually got other benefits rather. You can even make carom seed tea. You actually soak it in boiling water overnight and then you drink it the next day, and it's supposed to be really good for you. So that's what's going in. If you can't find those or you don't think you like them, skip them, maybe add a little bit more ginger, but that's really what that's there for. Now, next to that is red mustard seeds, which is less common. So I know most people have seen black or brown mustard seeds. Those are great to use as well. I would not use yellow because that's just got a whole different flavor profile. It's more sweet than spicy. In this dish, we want a little bit of a spice. Yeah, just make sure that you have some kind of mustard seed in there. Red is the one I'm going with today. Deborah, no, I don't think the carom seeds add any particular flavor. It really is just there for digestion, I would say. Would you agree, Mom? I don't think that ajwain seeds, yeah, okay, she agrees. Yeah, so we've got her her confirmation. It's really just there as a sort of a digestion aid. Red mustard seeds, I've never seen them before. Yes, Midori, they're very rare. I struggle to find them sometimes. So when I find them, I buy like a kilo of them and keep them. But they've got a different flavor. It's used more in Indian cooking, more so than black mustard. Not that that's not used, that's used in more the southern parts, but red mustard's something that we use in the northern part of India a little bit. Sometimes I find brown mustard seeds a little bitter. Can I replace with red? Sure. Brown would be. So black, brown, red, white. And the bitterness goes up the ladder as you go higher. That's and the pungency as well. That's why yellow mustard seeds I wouldn't recommend, because it's more sweet, whereas black is really strong. So brown would be pretty up there, and then red. So hopefully that answers those questions. So we're still going here. A couple more things to go through. We've got salt. So this is the Himalayan black salt, or kala namak. As I mentioned, this is the one that's basically a Himalayan pink salt, and then it's got other things in there. Again, another digestion aid. So we love, the beauty about Indian food, especially South Indian food, is Ayurveda is such a big thing. And it's been done for so long that we end up eating medicine as part of our diet. And that's what all these things are. frankly speaking. These are all digestion aids and spices and great nutrients that are supposed to help us feel and feel good and be well from a health perspective. And that's why they always have some story behind them around why is it this way or that way. So if you can't find that salt, you can just use regular salt, but typically, or traditionally rather, that's why they use that one. Now we've got turmeric as well. Now that's optional. You don't have to put turmeric. It's certainly going to change the color of it and also can introduce bitterness in large quantities. So I put very little, if at all, any. I'm not even going to use all of that. I'm just going to use some of that. But yeah, those are our spices. And the oils come all the way down in terms of heat. So I'm going to switch it back up and we can get started now with some of these. So I'm going to go in with the red mustard seeds first, along with the chilies in a second. I'm just going to let those mustard seeds just kind of start to bubble. And as soon as it starts to bubble, they're going to pop and it's going to turn into a disco house over here. So I'm going to act really quickly and throw something on top of it to calm it down. And it's going to be onions. So these are just shallots. I think I put 50 grams worth of it. And it's just going to go in straight after the spices. So whilst those are starting to pop, whoops, I just realized you guys can't see my pan. Whoop, there we go. All right, that was a lucky click. I wasn't expecting to land on it immediately. Can you see how the mustard seeds are starting to bubble?
Yeah, it's almost like, is there oil in there too?
Yeah, this is the oil from before with the nuts. So that's still going in there. So we want that. We want that because we want the oils from the mustard to come out. We don't want to cook it for too long because then it turns bitter. So we want it to be just, and I'm just going in with some of those chilies. I'm just splitting them in half. The mustard seeds are dancing, which means I want to put my onions in. So there those go. I'm going to fry those onions until they're about goldenish. They're going to soften down. I'm going to hang on to my salt and my turmeric for later. I usually try to put the salt in when I add tomatoes because tomatoes and salt, best friends, basically, which are some of the things that are going to go in next. So here, let me just kind of, you guys can see what I'm putting down over here with that. Can you guys see that? Like tomato and curry leaves?
Yeah. Wait, what kind of leaves are those again?
So these are curry leaves.
Oh, wow, they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
They
smell amazing.
How does that turn into yellow? Well, the only curry I've ever seen is yellow. Maybe it's a green curry.
Oh, the curry leaf has nothing to do with the color of the curry. So curry leaves is just something that's it's used largely in South India. It's from a curry leaf tree, and it has this very astringent / almost bitter flavor, but phenomenal aroma. So whenever you eat any kind of South Indian food, you'll always see curry leaves in them. Some people don't like to eat them. I love to eat them. Like they're actually quite nice to eat. Again, they're a little bit sort of analgesic if you eat too many of them, which is not a bad thing. But yes, that's what they are. So they have that sort of beautiful aroma that will lend into this dish. But yeah, so that's what these were. So these were the curry leaves, and I've also got chilies. Talk through the chilies right now. So I've got they're green chilies they look like that. They're Indian green chilies. You can either slice them up the way I've done there inside the bowl. You can certainly slit it open like this and just keep it whole. For those of you who maybe want to take out some of the seeds, you can do that. Or if you want to just be able to fish this out from the dish later on, you keep it in the whole form so that you can do that. This one's actually had the seeds taken out altogether, so they're not difficult to remove. But yeah, they're no joke. They've got a kick to them. So if you do find them, be careful. You don't want to add too many in because it can cause some regret of sorts. So I'm going to go in with the tomatoes now. I'll put and the ginger actually. Now, as you can see, lots and lots and lots of ginger, and it's just minced up ginger that I've gone to with a knife and just kind of put some loud music on and did that for a little while. So that was fun. All right. That's all going. Get that all stirred up. I'm going to go in with the salt, like I said before. Now, this is a lot of salt, but I'm going to be adding almost a liter of water. So that's why there's so much of it going in. And I'll check again later to see whether or not I need that much salt. I'm adding the salt now. Typically, a lot of people add salt at the end to make sure that it doesn't taste tasteless. I'm adding the salt in now because it's got the spices, it's got the aromatics, it's got the oil. That's the best time to actually put salt into a dish, because that's when all the pores are open, and salt actually makes things taste more like itself. That's why I'm putting it in now. And this is like a general rule that I found to be so valuable when cooking anything. Always put the salt in when you're doing aromatics and spices and oil. When you have oil or water to bring out the spice, open up the pores to bring out the flavors and the spices and the aromatics, that's the time to actually add salt to any dish. Otherwise, it's just going to make everything taste like salt. So that's going. We're going to let that come up. I want to be able to smell the ginger before I throw the curry leaves in. And I'm just going to start to drain these two. They've got enough water in them now that I can just throw them in a second. Just going to get a sieve.
I think Jennifer was asking maybe about the curry leaves and if there is like spicy as red chili, or are we referring to something else, Jennifer?
Good question. They have no Scoville levels, so they don't have any heat to them. When I say spice, I mean they have that aromatic sort of an astringent flavor. So they don't carry with them any kind of chili heat at all. So hopefully that makes sense.
Well, it looks beautiful. I'm loving the colors, which is so nice to see.
I'm just draining out the lentils that I had sitting before in water, and those are gonna go in now, along with the curry leaves. A couple more here. I just don't want any of that water to get in. I've got enough going in terms of liquid. I'm gonna stir that all up. As soon as the curry leaves hit the pan, the whole house, the smell is just beautiful. We don't want to put them in at the beginning because we don't want them to get burnt, but we just want them to, we want their pores to open up. Like we want to give them a little bit of a facial, and then we're good. All right, that's almost ready. I'm gonna go in with the chilies now. So I'm gonna go in with all of them today because I feel like it's really cold down here in Australia at the moment, and I feel like spicy food's gonna really make my day. So I'm just gonna go crazy there. Now I've got not much else to go in here other than the turmeric and the grits. So, sorry, not the grits, the semolina, so the ukma. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go in with the turmeric first. I'm just gonna put half of it in and decide if I want to add more later. But yeah, that's our base. So that's really gonna be the base for the entire, like for the dish. It's got all the flavors, it's got all the beautiful smells, honestly. And yeah, we're gonna do this together. Now we're gonna add the semolina, the roasted semolina. So I like to put this in before actually adding any water, because I like the first thing for the semolina to absorb to be any of the juices or oil that's already in the pan. And then after that, once the simmering stops, that's when I start to add the water and maybe some more turmeric, we'll see. But yes, as you can see, this isn't difficult to make. I'm just going really slowly so I can explain everything to you guys. But yes, you guys have been going with the comments, which is amazing. Yes, Gupta, curry leaves help with digestion as well. So, as you can see, there's a lot of digestive aids going into this dish. Yes, don't touch your eyes after you cut chili. I've learned that the very hard way. And milk and yogurt, anything with a milk protein basically works to cover any of the receptors on your tongue. So it immediately kills any kind of chili heat. So if you have yogurt, better if you have milk. That's the best thing to drink instead of water, and not to swallow it, but to just put it in your mouth and hold it in there. That's the best trick for any kind of chili alert or chili emergency if you have that at home. Turmeric is where the yellow comes from. Yes, so you don't have to make this yellow, Jennifer, good question. But if you wanted to, you can add it. So traditionally, I don't actually add turmeric. I thought I'd just give it a shot today because I saw some folks online say that they add it. Traditionally, when mom made it, it was always white. So you don't have to add it if you don't like turmeric. And it also adds bitterness, just being mindful of that. But yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna give that another 30 seconds and then we're gonna start doing water gradually. So I've got 3 cups of water here. And yeah, see, so everything, as you can see, it's semi-wet already as it is. So now it's just gonna cook the semolina. And I like that because it's already got in it some flavor instead of just water, which is great. Water is awesome. We need it to cook it. But if we can get the first absorption to be the juices of the aromatics and the spices, then that's pretty spectacular. So I'm going to go in first, just with enough water to kind of mix in and then gradually increase it. And this is, again, personal preference. Some people, it's like making rice. You can put more water to make it more like a porridge. You can put less water to make it more sort of have more bite to it. Or pasta. Some people like it al dente. It's the same concept, except we're dealing with a grain as opposed to rice or pasta. So I'm just going to bring that heat all the way up, because I think we could certainly use the heat to cook the semolina. Yeah. So that's going to take a couple of minutes to come back up to the heat, and then yeah, almost done. Once this guy's cooked, that's really all there is to it. Very simple dish. I like simple dishes. Go ahead, Julia.
No, I was just gonna say I love colors in food.
Yeah.
And this one has so many pretty ones.
Yes.
Deborah wants to know, if you can't find fresh curry leaves, is there
Mhm.
another way to use them? Like, are they dried or frozen?
Yeah, you can absolutely get them dried. I would say frozen first. I think those are better because they still have that sort of freshness to it. And then, of course, you can always use dried. There are a lot of ways, like in sort of South Indian culinary, curry leaves are just huge. They even make a curry leaf powder where they have, I think it's a combination of curry leaves and a couple of different types of gram or dals, and they basically fry it and then they grind it and they turn it into a powder. So if you get to a specialty food store where they sell South Indian sorts of stuff, you can even look for curry leaf powder, and that would be even better than the dried curry leaves, because the dried curry leaves carry flavor with them, but this powdered form would actually really give you the sort of the flavor that you'd get from fresh curry leaves. But so frozen first, go for frozen if you can't get fresh. But yes, if you can try to find that powder, maybe I'll even do a recipe of making it at home, because you can, if sometimes when it's like curry leaf season, you have so many curry leaves, you don't know what to do with it. You don't want to just freeze them all. You can actually make powder and just keep it in the pantry along with all your other ingredients, like all your other dried herbs. So maybe I'll do that. But yes, hopefully that, I think it was Julia, was it? As Jennifer, sorry, that was asking that question. Sorry, Julia, I didn't mean you.
That's okay.
Force of habit. I was looking at you when I said her name.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's see, I'm just gonna
So
stir
cool.
this up.
I love spices. One of my favorite stores I used to go to before this crazy pandemic, smell all the spices, like, so now it's like not a fun experience because they don't have the sensory overload, but it's still nice to get them and smell them at home.
Yeah, no, they're great. Spices are beautiful, and they don't even go bad. Like, you can always wake spices up. Most of the time, if you've got spices that have been sitting in the pantry for a little while, all they really need is a little bit of heat. It's the equivalent of, you know, how some, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but usually if you go to a bar and you watch a bartender or a mixologist make a cocktail with mint, the first thing he'll do is he'll put mint and he'll just clap it. And what that does is it actually wakes up the mint and gets the mint oils rolling as he's about to make maybe a mojito or something like that. And so the same is with spices, except you don't clap spices because that would just be messy. You you put them on a pan with a little bit of heat and nothing else, and that wakes them up really nicely, so that you don't end up thinking, oh, these are stale, I don't know what to do with them. They've got oil in them, they're just sitting in there. You just need to summon them, and heat usually helps with that. So yes, we're going pretty well with this. I haven't used all the water yet, although I might. I just want what's in here to get completely cooked. I think what I have is a situation with very low gas in this guy. So I'm just gonna have to swap things around real quick so I can get the heat up. Otherwise, we'll be here longer than we need to, although it's fun. That should do it. Yep. Yeah, more questions, guys. I love the questions and the comments coming through.
Yeah, Mike is a fan of all the spices that
Yes.
included with them. I've had some spices for a long time. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is a shelf life on them. If we're talking 10 years, maybe throw that into the compost and try again. But but anything less than a couple years usually is good. So as you can see, it's a lot like cooking grits, except it's a little bit quicker. So grits take longer to cook because they're a grain, whereas semolina is the cream of the wheat, so it's very fine. And so that doesn't require a long cooking process. So this is going to be done very shortly. But if you were cooking with grits or polenta, it's going to take a little bit longer. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, that's looking fantastic. So I don't know if you guys can see it, so I'm just going to pop it up to the screen, but can you guys see that there's some itty bitty grains that look different from the rest? To me, those are, maybe it's not coming through on the video because it's really fine.
They're
Is it?
Are they the black ones, like the dots, or is that something else?
No, those are just the mustard seeds. But what I was trying to show you is, and if you've cooked grits before, semolina, sometimes you can tell that some of the grains are cooked because they're different color and texture, and some of them are not, and those sit around looking like dots. Even without tasting it, I can look at it and go, it needs more water, just because there's a difference in the texture of the grain. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's what I was trying to show you, and I guess we're not there yet with HDTV for webcams, but maybe someday. But yeah, so you can always just go in with a spoon and taste it. And if you taste anything that's a little bit coarse or a little bit sort of hard, and it'll be a grainy texture, that means you need to add more water and cook it, because you don't want that. That's basically uncooked grits, or in this case, semolina. So you want to make sure it's completely cooked. So yeah, so you need to add more water. I was trying to show you a trick that didn't work out so well with the visual. But this now is looking a lot better. That grainy look is gone, which means I've added exactly the amount of water. Now I can certainly go in with more water if I want it to be more runny, but I don't. I think that this dish is better in a sort of a porridge, sort of pulpy texture like the one we have. As you can see, I didn't use all the turmeric, so I'm going to put that back in the bottle. I only used 1/4 teaspoon, and it's already golden in color. So if you put more in there, it's going to change the color and make it more bitter. And I didn't want to risk that. I actually like white colored upma, but we're having yellow today, and that's all right. But yes, I'm going to drop the heat now because I think it's almost done. I'm going to move these guys around, and then we can take a look at some plating options. But yeah, super fun, super simple. Once you know how to make it. If you don't know how to make it, it's probably a bit daunting. But it's the beauty of spices, as you say, Julia. It's really just about making sure that we have the opportunity to play with them, because they're pretty spectacular. They bring so much flavor, to be considering that they're so small, like just itty bitty bits, and they just power packed in terms of the flavor in them. So I think that's pretty great. All right. Couple more things to add in now that the water is almost done. We're going to go back in with the nuts that we had before. So I'm just going to pop those in and just turn them in because that's going to just give that crunchy texture, because this is all very sort of soft and what's the word I would use? Spongy, just very soft texture. So the nuts will give a bit of crunch and the peas will give a bit of pop with juice as well. So that's why I'm adding them now. I might add more. I'm a big fan of peas, thanks to my mom. And as you just saw, I've given you recommendations for what to add in terms of quantities, but if you want more of something like I'm about to do now, go for your life. I think go eat, put in it what you will actually eat and enjoy, and have fun with it. So I like green peas because it's got a bit of sweetness as well. And I'm just going to go in with as much as I can and stir that all in together. And the last thing that I need to do before I add some lemon juice is just give it a quick taste. And this will be just to make sure the salt's okay, it's not too bitter. If for whatever reason it's too bitter, you can always add a little bit of sugar. That usually fixes it. But there shouldn't be too much bitterness today. Famous last words, let's find out. Perfect. It's got enough salt. It's got all those spices coming in. It's really nice. I haven't even had it with the nuts and the peas. That's going to make it even better. So I put a teaspoon of salt for a cup of grits. That was how much I used. So that gives you an idea. If you tend to like more salty flavors, you can certainly add more on. Go for your life. But what I added was perfect. And the only other thing that needs to go in is some lemon. So that's really just some acid to brighten it up, because we've got a lot of spice, we've got maybe a little bit of sweetness, we've got a lot of salt, but we don't have a lot of acid. And so this dish is typically served with lemon wedges on the side, just so that you can add more if you want. But I'm just going in with quarter of a lemon. It's about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons, depending on your lemon and depending on the size of the lemon itself. But that's perfect. That is it, it's done. And that's just going to brighten it up and make it just that much better. All right.
Kate is reading my mind. Is this typically a side dish? Is it breakfast? Is it dinner? Is it like every meal? What do you recommend?
If you ask me, I'd say it's every meal because it's my favorite, but it's a breakfast dish. I'm just going to switch off the heat. So it's definitely a breakfast dish. It's one of those dishes that a small, like how it's served typically is like an itty bitty cup, like that's really small, because it's as you saw the amount of oil that went in, it's also got carbs and it's got all this flavor. It's supposed to fill you up for all of the morning and a little bit of the afternoon. It's one of those really filling, like sort of hunger buster breakfast dishes. A lot of people tend to have them before they head out for work, like on the fields and stuff like that. It's very popular in India. If you're on a road trip, there are always roadside stalls selling upma or poha or any of these sorts of dishes. They're prepared savory because it's a breakfast dish that's meant to last a little while. It's meant to have some mileage on it. So it is breakfast, to answer your question, Kate. But yes, honestly, I think it's great on its own. I wouldn't say it's a side dish, but it's definitely a breakfast dish. All right. I'm just going to serve it up here in this little bowl, just to kind of keep it authentic. We're doing a metal bowl, and then we're just going to add some coriander and some ooh, there's that big chili right there. There we go. I'm just going to swap cameras. I can't help myself. It tastes really good. Here we go. We got a bit of that chili too. So here we go. That's the dish, usually served with some coriander leaves on top, if you like. Here we go. That's plenty. In fact, I don't want him to hide behind the chili. Can you see that chili? It's just quite special. So a little bit of lemon to serve on the side. There you go. And you usually have it with, I don't know if you guys have heard of South Indian decoction coffee, but that is fabulous coffee, best coffee I've ever had. I'll tell you guys about that in a second, but there you go. That's breakfast. I should probably adjust it back just a smidge so you guys can see everything. There we go.
Wow.
Voila.
Bravo. Feel free to applause or share your favorite emoji. It's gorgeous. Wow.
Thank you. I think I need to move it. There we go. Move it that way. Hey. And a nice little spoon to have it with.
I'm curious, what are some of the memories you have of enjoying this dish? I think you mentioned it might be something you enjoyed growing up, but would be curious.
Yes. So I'm a bit of a sleepyhead as a kid, at least I was. I used to always wake up late, and I used to always come down after everyone was either halfway through breakfast or done with it. Look at mum nodding with a big smile on her face. Yes, she was totally a sleepyhead. And I used to always not have what was fresh, like scrambled eggs were fresh. You want to eat that fresh. It was always a box of upma sitting somewhere. And it was usually on Sundays, because that would be the day mum made it if we didn't go out for a family breakfast. And so for me, it's this, and that's why I like eating it cold, because I grew up eating it cold. And by cold, I mean, kind of right now, as you can see, this is kind of soft and really sort of delicate. If you guys could see that, what happens now is it firms up the same way grits does. And it becomes kind of like this thing that you can just break into, like, it's almost like bready in a sense. And I just remember eating it cold and it was bready, and that was just happiness to me, because I still got breakfast in even though I was late, and it was tasty. So that's a memory for me. And the other one was I used to think that there was corn, like actual corn, what do you call them, corn bits in them, but they were actually split chickpeas, because they're yellow and they look like corn. And I always thought, oh, that must be corn, because at the age of 6, what did I know about cooking? But yes, I used to think it was corn, and my mom had to correct me. She's like, it's not corn. I don't put corn in that dish. And I learned later it was split chickpeas. So yeah, so just fond memories around being able to eat it, and just kind of bringing me a lot of joy.
Those are great memories. And it looks like we had a question about the delicious coffee from Terry. Can you tell us more about this coffee?
So this coffee, it's called, probably I'm not going to do it justice. It's a decoction coffee, meaning to say that it's something that's dripped in a cold brew overnight. So it's not your hot brew, what goes in with hot water, but it drips overnight, and it comes out to be this really thick, lush sort of a concentration of coffee, almost like a viscous coffee. Yeah, I don't really have any left because I dripped it out. This is sort of the percolator for it. And so it's very, very strong coffee. And you end up having it with, as you can see, not a lot of milk and sugar usually. And they usually serve it in this bowl so that when it's served hot, you can kind of make it cold by kind of pouring it back and forth. But it's just basically South Indian coffee, which coffee is not native to India. It came across from, I think, somewhere in the Middle East. It was brought over to India on its way to Indonesia and other parts of the world that now do cultivate coffee. And it's stuck in South India. So in Northern India, coffee is not a thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's always tea. But in South India, coffee is big, and decoction coffee is the way to have it, I would say. I've got some in here right now. Thank you, Jennifer. It is a beautiful home. I'm very lucky. So appreciate that.
An extra kitchen.
Well done, Rash.
Thanks, Mom. Appreciate it, Terry. Thank you. But yeah, that's what we have. That's all we've got for today. Hopefully that was helpful and enjoyable. And as I said at the start, if you want to try make the dish, and if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me on all my social media, and even on email if you prefer. I think Julia sent that out at the beginning. But what I'd really love is if you guys decided to make it and you were brave enough to share your photos with me. I know Marie, I'm not sure if you're on the call, Marie always sends through some of the photos of her dishes that she's prepared based on the classes she takes. And I think she just did one earlier this week for the fish, Asian style fish and papilo, and she did a fabulous job. So if you want to be featured on my channel, I'd love for you guys to send that stuff through. No pressure, only if you feel like it. But yeah, it'd be a great way to kind of test yourselves out to see if you were able to make something, and I'm sure you're perfectly capable of it. So it'd be great to see that.
Oh, cool. Well, I can't wait to
Yeah.
see everyone's dishes, and I hope that you can follow along with all of Rash's amazing culinary classes. We love having
Yeah. Go ahead, Julia.
Let's stop sharing and we can just do some quick closing announcements. This is our
Let's
most
do it.
class, which is great.
Stop the share. Excellent. Go for it.
All right, so I'm looking for you. I'm spotlighting you and me for everyone, just for some quick closing announcements. We'll be slowing down a little bit over the summer. Rash and a few of you know, and Pavel knows, I'm really thinking about the vision of Tradition Kitchen. So if any of you have really enjoyed coming to our classes, we would love to hear your thoughts as we think about the future of Tradition Kitchen. So please, please reach out and let me know what you would love to get from this experience. You can reply to the follow-up email that you'll get with the recording. But stay tuned. We hope to have at least one class a month over the next few months, and we're grateful to have all of you here. So that's it. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And thank you, Rash, so much. Let's give you another round of applause for just a lovely dish and telling your story and sharing it with us. So lots of appreciation.
No, thank you guys for joining us today. It's been great. I love being able to share, and you guys are the reason you guys allow me to do it. So I'm extremely grateful, and to you as well, Julia, for allowing me to come back time and time again. I love it. You're amazing. Traditions Kitchen is on its way. I really am excited to see the vision that you guys have coming into as we kind of slow down the old format and maybe switch into a better, brand new spanking format. I echo Julia's comments before. Do reach out and let her know. I think this is a community that's built on all of you, and if you can help us understand what it is you guys are after, that's going to help Julia shape the vision. And I think that's pretty special. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great
Bye-bye, everybody.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Great class. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Oh, I should have mentioned this while people are dropping off. That's okay. But my next class, not with Traditions Kitchen, is how to make keto cookies. So they're sugar-free cookies, and I call them chocolate hazelnut. So they're like a deconstructed Nutella cookie made without Nutella. So if any of that sounds like something that you might want to learn, or just be able to come and join and have a chat, information for that should be going out next week on my social media accounts. So stay tuned for that. But yes, keto cookies excite me because, you know, who doesn't want a cookie without all the sweet, the sugary consequences? But apologies, Julie, I should have said that earlier. But I just thought I'd throw that in at the end.
Definitely. That sounds amazing. Love cookies.
Cookie monster.
How did you know what I was thinking?
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're big
That's
fans
right.
of Sesame Street here.
Oh, we love Sesame Street. I was saying to Julia before, we need to maybe have, like, you know, I don't know, maybe a Sesame Street thing where we do something with kids potentially. Will be fun, I think.
Would love that. Would love
Awesome.
that. Right. I'm gonna stop recording. And have a great one, everyone.
Amazing.